Welcome back, everyone, to Have a Moment. I am your host, Anahata Hallowell. I'm the founder of the Flow State Technique. And we were in such a juicy conversation, part one, that we are continuing on with that fascinating conversation. Tiffany Nicole, a world-renowned Theta healer, medical medium, and manifestation guru, is here joining us. We had to segment it into two parts because it was just too much fun. And so be sure to go back and check out the first one if you haven't yet. We're just exploring her unique journey and what made her decide she wanted to do this, the nudges she took to move across the country and do what she does. And we dove into her powerful healing techniques and the way she goes about doing it and how she does it. And we discussed Theta state loosely and how she helps clients really overcome limiting beliefs and the importance of doing that for personal transformation. So welcome back. And for those of us just joining us, Tiffany Nicole has this really extraordinary ability to tap into your subconscious mind and communicate with your body as well. And she can channel the information just boop, 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 boop. And really, she facilitates profound healing in a unique way beyond the label Theta healing, and her expertise spans beyond that. You know, she's a medical intuitive, and she really she's also, I want to hear about this. You've trained or you did something with Tony Robbins, so let's maybe open that conversation so that we can dive deeper into what makes you tick and makes you you, and why you do what you do, and maybe perhaps how he had an impact on what it is you're doing.
Okay. When I was teaching the course, it was called Creative Insight Journey. It originated at Stanford. I got certified to teach it. Again, doing it for 4 years. You know, after a while, you want to grow. I mean, things expand and you get curious. I had a lot of people who would finish that course and just say like, well, what now? And I was like, nothing. Have a nice life, you know? And I had so many people that they loved the course. I did too. It changed my life. I took it as a student. They were asking me for like one-on-one. And I did not feel comfortable just saying yes because I was not taught how to do one-on-one coaching. So I was researching a lot, and I like Tony Robbins. I always really liked him a lot. And he offers a training to become a coach under him. He actually is like a strategic interventionist, so they're like, you'll never hear that title. And so that's what I did. I went through that program. It's very long. It's like going to college for like psychology. It's wild, the amount of hours and the studying, and like it's intense. I don't know that I needed to do that, but that's what I did. And that's how that went. Yeah. And then I
Wow,
started
awesome.
doing one-on-one. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. And I know that your work and my work really, the core of it is neuroplasticity, because you know, you were a different you, and then you decided I want to be a different me, and you had to actually rewire and form new pathways and study and become something else.
Mm.
And so you kind of help remove the limiters, the subconscious patterning that's getting in the way of their fullness, you know, and
Mhm.
it could be manifesting as an issue or just a block to their goals. And so we talked about both of those, but with the flow state technique, we're really tapping into optimal states of performance. So
Mhm.
maybe you could talk to me about, does your method help people to set and achieve goals, and how?
Mhm. When I do theta healing, it's not really about like setting goals. I'll say that. It's not so, I mean, the goal itself usually is just, can we heal this, fix this, change this? In that sense, yes. But when I mix the theta healing and the coaching, which I do, that becomes more healing and then going into coaching around goals. You know what I mean? But in general, whenever you remove, like if you want to call it a block, a limitation, whatever it is, even some trauma, whatever, when we remove that, then obviously we have space for something else to come in. And also, you know, your beliefs, they create your behavior. They also create your identity. So you're not going to be a new person or do anything differently if the belief stays the same. That's always number one. So when you change a belief, when you change it, remove it, again, whatever you want to say about it, then that identity that will go away. So it's like a people pleaser, for example, like they're not going to keep pleasing once we release all the reasons why they believe that they had to do it in the first place, right? So, and then the behavior changes, so does the identity. Well, I'm not going to identify as a people pleaser anymore because that's not what I do and who I am. So that one thing will change the rest of it. You know,
Mm.
like if you want to talk about business, I mean, so many entrepreneurs come to me. I have a fear of success. I have a fear of failure. I have a fear of being seen. I have a fear of being heard. I feel like an imposter. I'm not good enough. Nobody's going to buy from me. I mean, we can just keep going on and on. And so really, I remove all of that stuff. Like they don't even come with those words. I tell them, I'm like, this is your problem. So like, and then we just start working on it. It always comes from inner child or genetics anyway, but that's how that helps them.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
so true. All of it, but the thing you said at the beginning of that
Mhm.
was so interesting to me, and it makes so much sense. If you are in fight, flight, frozen, fawn, any sort of distress, that's consuming your energy. That pattern is consuming your
Mhm.
energy. And when you release that, let's say it's anxiety. I have
Mhm.
anxiety. I don't know why. And you come to a session with you and you release that. Releasing your anxiety can actually boost your creativity. Like there's
Oh,
so many side
100
effects.
million%. Yes, there's so much that gets in the way of things, for sure. Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. And so do you find people when I had a session with you, the next day I sort of had a headache and I know that it was because I'm processing this massive release of letting go, of shedding the old, and then now I have this resurgence of creative energy in the
Yeah.
last week. And
Mhm.
so like it's interesting to me that that wasn't the point, but the side effect is liberation and like
Yeah.
increased productivity, creativity, and all of that being in the flow. It's amazing how much of our trauma and belief systems, as you said, are blocking just functioning well as a human. And so I think this is probably why um, mindfulness is so important, being in the now and not being in the past or the future. Now, I'd love to get into the conversation about spirituality. We kind of touched on it for a second in the session one, the podcast one. But there's a lot of labels like if you can't see it, then maybe that's a spiritual thing you have to believe in. Whereas we're getting down to science that can track peak performance and overriding limiting beliefs is becoming like a scientific thing. It's not so much spiritual anymore, even though what you do is definitely tapping into the unseen. What are
Yeah.
your thoughts on all of that? The juxtaposition between being scientific and
Yeah.
spiritual.
My thoughts are a couple of things, and I've used this example a lot. Our mind does not know the difference between fact or fantasy, does not know. And so whatever we feed it, it will believe it to be true. Now, you can use this to your disadvantage or your advantage. It's up to you, right? So like, again, we're going to use this in a science-based way because this was actually done scientifically. And it was when they studied people that ran races, okay? And there were runners that would imagine themselves winning the race across the finish line before the gun even went off, right? And they won the race. And then there's the other person that doesn't do that at all. Now, could they have won the race too? Of course. But the thing here is that they're feeding their mind and body a scenario that the mind and the body accepts as truth because it doesn't know the difference. So they are using this to their advantage, right? Where somebody else, let's say, who has anxiety, and I know what that feels like because I actually suffered with anxiety and panic attacks and everything in my past before I healed it. What will happen to us is that we will use our imagination to create a very scary scenario and outcome for ourselves. And then our body and our mind will also believe that. And that is where the anxiety kicks in. We create the anxiety with the story that we tell ourselves, just like we create the win and the celebration with the story that we tell ourselves. So I don't know, call it science,
Mm.
call it whatever you want, but that's how it works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Amazing.
Awesome. And how many times, I mean, I get that this varies between each person, but in the flow state technique, it's a practice. You really, I know I've heard you say I just go in and it's done, but
Yeah.
like there's a practice behind anything. And so do you give advice to people about incorporating elements of theta healing on an ongoing, like how many sessions with you is normal? It can't be just one and done. Maybe it is sometimes, but I assume there's various levels of complete practice to where they no longer have the issue.
People ask me this all the time. There is no answer to this question because you know this, like healing is not linear. It's not. Some people have come for one session. They give me an amazing testimonial I didn't ask for, thank you, and I never see them again. Never see them again. And there are other people who have literally been with me for 6 years, not because the healing hasn't worked, but because it has worked and because it allows them to move up so much faster because they're like, wait a minute, we just did all of this. Then they see the result and they're like, what else can we do? You know? So it's like, there is no answer to this. Do as many as you want, do as little as you want, but we are very layered. And the more you do, the more that you will understand, the more that you will uncover, the more that you will shed. Absolutely. But also, this is the most I think you can get rid of in 1 hour. I mean, it's
Yeah.
so much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I was actually, I do this for a living. I've done it for
Yeah.
10 years, not theta healing, but helping people release. And I was blown away with the places you went, what was accomplished, the way I felt
Yeah.
afterwards, during and afterwards. And now this big spark of creativity that I
Mhm.
can only attribute to what you did for me. So I really appreciate it, guys. You got to check it out. I want to ask you, looking forward to the future, I feel like we're in a day and age where this is becoming, uh, you know, 20 years ago, if you meditated, you were weird. And nowadays it's like, oh, theta healing, that's cool. And it's evolving so quick. How do you envision the fields of energy healing and personal development evolving? And what do you think your role may be in this evolution of progress that we are apparently quickly coming to?
I will tell you, I don't, these are good questions. I don't know, I have not given the thought to how it will all evolve, but I can tell you that my hope is that more people come to understand how much of their emotions, trauma, and belief systems are actually contributing to the health, the physical illnesses, the pains that they're having inside of their bodies, that they understand how connected all of this is and stop treating everything as though it's separate from each other. I would like people to get more educated on how connected all of this is and how healing one could literally heal all. I mean, because for me, that is what is so transforming for people when they work with me is the amount of things that get healed in one session, but also how it's not just the mind or just the body or just energy, that it's all of it in one shot. And I would like to see more people be able to do that for sure.
Yeah, and just saying that, I feel you would be primed to write a book. Have you written any books?
I get asked this all the time. I do not enjoy writing. I believe that you should only do what you enjoy in life, and just writing an email is like it's it's like slow torture. I am not writing any books.
Yeah.
I also don't think we need any more books. Okay, like there's enough books. No, the short answer to this is no.
Awesome. That's totally fine. And that's what I say a lot. It's like find your bliss and stick with it.
Yeah.
If you're not comfortable in front of the camera, don't be in front of the
Yes.
camera. Don't try and force this round peg in a square hole.
Yeah.
Um, to that regard, have you seen anyone discover gifts that they didn't know they had? Like you can see a lot, right? You can see things. Is there any story that comes to mind about how you helped someone uncover their gifts or something that they didn't know about themselves?
Hmm.
Any
Yeah.
story? Yeah.
Yeah. This comes twofold. I work with a lot of healers, which I have to tell you, that is actually the biggest compliment that they want to work with me, you know? Sometimes it's actually unblocking things like the third eye and the crown and other things that, yes, have come up in past lives, that it just opens them up more to the gifts that they already have, because sometimes it's like they are blocking it and they don't even realize. And yes, there have been a lot of times where I have worked on someone and I have been taken into their hands, like specifically. And I've said to them, because I say, I don't know if this is something that you've already done or something that you're supposed to do, but I'll explain it in detail. And sometimes I'll say, oh my God, yes, like I used to do this as a kid and I always wished I brought it back. And I'm like, oh, you should be bringing it back. Or no, they've never done it. And then I'm like, okay, well, this is it. I mean, you don't have to do it, but I'm being shown this for a reason, you know? And then they'll come back to me and say like, you were right. I mean, this is what I'm doing now. And so, yeah, that's how it's happened.
That's so, so intriguing. And
Yeah.
I wish I could see what you see. Could you describe when you go into this altered state of connectivity to someone's higher aura, or what do you call that? The field of their energy, and you can start seeing, oh, it's your thyroid, it's your lower back, it's your hips, it's what's actually going on. Do you see things? Are you visualizing things? Or are you just knowing them? How does that work with your gift?
This is also, people always get so surprised by this. I see nothing. I see nothing. There are some people, we all have different gifts, right? Like we all do. There are a lot of people I've worked with in trainings that they do have that gift of sight. They are seeing, I see nothing. I'm claircognizant. So what that means is that it's almost like, just imagine yourself, all of a sudden you know nothing and then you know everything. It's the best way for me to describe it. Information is just pouring in. And so for me, the way that it works is when I'm told the issue, I'm also shown where I'm told, I don't want to say shown because I can't see. I'm told where it is. So like a lot of times when I say I'm seeing, what I really mean is I'm knowing, I'm being told, I'm being shown, but it's through the download, it's through the channeling. I don't have sight. I see literally nothing. Black.
Yeah, well,
No,
you
it's
could
not
have fooled
interesting,
me
but
because it was very vivid
I
for me, because
know.
I'm a visual person. So when you
Yeah.
were, I had my eyes closed and she was describing certain aspects, and I could see it so clearly. And I was actually even seeing flashes of memories to
Mm-hmm.
validate what she was saying. And I'm like, this is a wild ride, but I'm a visual person. So
Yeah.
what a gift. Do you have any advice for someone who may feel, because obviously you had enough wherewithal and connectivity to your intuition to say, I'm moving, I'm following this, I'm taking this training 3, 4, 5 times, different levels, even though nothing, you just
Like,
kept going. Do you have any
yeah.
advice for someone who's really not like that? Like, were you always like that? And what advice do you have for people to really just take this leap and move forward, trust their gut more, and how could they nurture that gift or even know that they had it? Did you know you had it?
Okay, there's a lot of questions. So as a kid, I was very outspoken. I was not shy. I was also a performer. Like I sang my whole life. I was always entertaining and on stages. So for me, like that does feel like home. It still does. I'd much rather speak than write. Okay. Like that's my thing. I'd rather be on stages. So I was always like that. And I was very intuitive. My mom would say, like, you were bossy by the age of 5. Like you knew exactly how you wanted your hair, you dressed yourself, you fought everybody on everything. So I was just a very spirited, outspoken child. That's just in my nature. I'm still like that as an adult. However, so when you're like this, right, you do become very intuitive, because what's happening is that you're relying on yourself, not the opinions or guidance of others. And when you do this, you don't look for external validation, because everything for you is very internally guided. So that is how I was naturally, but also what I would tell people to do is that intuition is a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. If you continue to go outside of yourself for answers, for guidance, you will lose the strength of that muscle and you will not be able to guide yourself. You will go into overthinking, you will doubt things. When it was time for me to basically graduate high school, I did not want to go to college. I knew in my soul, in my heart of hearts, I do not belong there. That is not who I am. I was already having issues just sitting through high school. And my mom basically was like, you have to go. You don't have a choice. Like, if you don't go, I cut you off. And I was like, well, I'm not ready for all that. So I went against my intuition and I went to college. And when I went against my intuition for the first time in my life, I became suicidal. I was depressed. I got IBS. I developed a panic and anxiety disorder. That is how severe it can be when we go against our own inner knowing and our own self-trust, because you are not just abandoning yourself, but in a lot of ways, like you're turning on yourself, if that makes sense. And oh God, I was like, why can't I be like everybody else? Why can't I be happy? Why can't I just want to be in college? It seems so fun and simple for everyone. So then it became, oh, there must be something wrong with me. I'm the problem. Just
Mm.
because I didn't want what everybody else wanted. And so I lost my way. I lost my intuition. I lost it. And that's another lesson. You're not like everybody else. You're not supposed to be like everybody else. Don't try and fit in. It's the opposite of what we've been taught. Don't ever try and fit in. Do you always. You're going to live the happiest, most authentic, realist life. You will automatically be in line with your purpose because you're being exactly who you are meant to be. It's when you, it's when you like, it's when you dumb it down and you follow society that everything gets completely effed up. I'm not gonna, it's true. And so that's what happened to me. And it took me a long time to find my way back. But when I did, I swore to myself, I would never do that to myself again. And then that's all I listened to was my own intuition. I didn't care what anyone said. I didn't care what anybody thought. If I did, I wouldn't even be here talking to you. I wouldn't even live in Miami.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my God. So amazing. What good advice. And guys, if you're at all curious about the possibilities and you want to learn more and work with Tiffany, I highly recommend it. And just go for it. The time is now. And so could you just tell us, where can people find you? Where can people book a session with you? How can they follow your work?
Again, so my Instagram is my name. It's at tiffanynicole.co. The link in my bio, like everyone else, has literally everything and all ways to work and find me. My website is my name. It's tiffanynicole.co. And those are the two best ways.
Yeah,
Yeah.
awesome. Thank you so much. And
Thank
guys,
you.
if you are intrigued, we're going to definitely have her back on the show again, maybe with a panel of experts. We
Very
love
fun.
this feedback. We love this, tell us, comment, what do you want to hear more of? What's been your biggest aha, your biggest takeaway? And then again, if you want to work with Tiffany, all of her links and everything will be in the description of this video. And I want to mention, if you want to learn more about the flow state technique, you can learn about that at neuro-manifesting.com. And all of these things spell transformation for your life. And I think that's the most important thing in this day and age, is to fulfill your potential, because as Tiffany was saying, you can certainly be led astray in these trying, chaotic times. And there's nothing worse than losing connection with your gifts and who you are and what you came here to be. And so if you like this content, don't forget to subscribe to our Have a Moment podcast and YouTube channel for more inspiring conversations, practical tips, how to achieve flow states, how to unlock your full potential. And I just want to thank you for tuning in. And remember, take a moment to flow and watch yourself grow. I know it sounds so cheesy, but guys, it's these little strings of moments in your life that are going to support you on your path. And the lack of those little moments of flow that keep you from your growth. I am your host, Anahata Hallowell. Until another now, be in it. Thank you so much for being here. And we'll see you all next time. Thanks again.